The hiatus is over. I'm Lewis, aka Spider-Man 991, and today I'm finally going to talk about the Marvel movie that everyone has been raving about, Avengers Infinity War. Now, the reason why I didn't do this movie, post this video right when it came out, is because I was on a bit of, like I said, hiatus. Also, I wanted to wait a little bit because I knew I was going to talk about spoilers, and I did not want to have to worry about anyone who hasn't seen the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie at this point, it's been out for 3 weeks. What the hell? Go see it, then come back and watch this video. Avengers Infinity War is the perfect on-screen representation of a comic book event. And for those of you wondering what I'm talking about events like Secret Wars, Civil War, Blackest Night, just really those big events that comic book companies promote and say like, oh, this is a huge event that's going to affect everything, where you got a ton of heroes crossing over with other heroes in order to solve the problem. Also, in one of my trailer reaction videos for the Infinity War trailer, I said that there was going to be 3 different arcs we were going to see, and I was technically right, because we had one arc featuring Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange going to Titan. The second arc involves Thor teaming up with the Guardians, although eventually this arc kind of splintered off and dealt with the 2 remaining arcs where Thor, Rocket, and Groot went to go get a new hammer for Thor, and then eventually wound up in Wakanda, and Star-Lord, Drax, and Mantis ended up going to Titan. Of course, the third arc, which was Captain America and the Avengers going to Wakanda to protect the last Infinity Stone, which in this case was Vision's Mind Stone. Though really what they were attempting to do was remove the stone without harming Vision and destroy it. Of course, though, this theory was technically wrong because there was a 4th arc involved, and that was Thanos' arc. I honestly love this movie about how much attention it gave to Thanos. It pretty much fleshed out his character so he wasn't just a one-off villain, which is a problem I think with a lot of the villains in the MCU. Also, you really start to understand the motives and logic behind his actions, which do make a lot of sense, although his methods are very questionable and something you shouldn't do. Now, going back to what I said earlier about how this was like a comic book event where we have characters interacting with each other for the first time, the interactions between all the heroes meeting for the first time is what really makes this movie enjoyable. I really enjoyed the animosity between Tony Stark and Doctor Strange because they're very similar and both men are very egotistical. So naturally, when you have 2 characters like that, they are definitely going to butt heads. I am a little disappointed though it wasn't like an instant friendship or anything. We didn't get the whole awesome facial hair bros, which we've seen in comics, but I'm willing to overlook that because of the portrayals we got from Robert Downey Jr. and Benedict Cumberbatch. Also, of course, I can't mention interactions without talking about what happened when the Guardians met the Avengers on Titan, which is where we got the whole where is Gamora, who is Gamora, and why is Gamora exchange. And I found out after the movie that Dave Bautista actually improvised that line of why is Gamora, which was brilliant and something that is definitely aligned with what Drax the Destroyer would say. Really, the way this movie has adapted its humor and all of its entertaining moments really make this a fun summer blockbuster. And I think that's a good flow that it has, especially with the movie's ending. Because basically at the end, Thanos wins. He gets all 6 Infinity Stones and eliminates half the life with the snap of his fingers. What happens next is a sequence where we have probably half of our favorite Marvel characters fade before our eyes. And it is just very sad to watch. To be honest, and for me, I think the saddest one to see was Spider-Man's death. Just that moment where Spider-Man fades into nothingness was... I mean, the way that Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr. went through the scene where Holland delivers the "I don't want to go" line, and also how he's like kind of sort of like in Iron Man's arms, which is kind of like the relationship that we get for Spider-Man and Iron Man. It's kind of like a mentor-mentee relationship, but when we see the scene portrayed, it's kind of like a father and son thing, which is very nice, and it's very heartbreaking to watch. And of course, though, I don't really talk about this a lot with movie scores, but the score for Infinity War was very impressive. I mean, right when we got to the whole ending and then we moved into the end credits, the way the score just kind of transitioned you was brilliant. Is there anything that I didn't like about the movie? Well, the only thing I would change is just I didn't like how Rocket just conveniently had a bionic eye that he gave Thor, because I liked the eye patch that Thor had at the end of post Ragnarok. I thought the way they drastically changed Thor's look at the end of Ragnarok was a great way to show how after 10 years of movies, some changes are being made to the characters. And, you know, just beyond a couple of hairstyles, I think Thor losing an eye would have been a great thing to keep, but I don't know, I guess everyone felt that, you know, maybe having Chris Hemsworth wear an eye patch this entire movie was a bit annoying. Okay, now let's talk about some theories that I have. Okay, so in the movie, Doctor Strange tells Tony that he would protect the Time Stone over Tony and Peter's lives. Basically saying that if he had the choice between the stone or one of their lives, he would choose to protect the stone. However, while they're waiting for Thanos, Doctor Strange views a number of alternate futures, and there is one where Thanos loses. And then later in the film, Strange surrenders the Time Stone to Thanos in order to save Tony's life. So this pretty much confirms that Doctor Strange knows what's going to happen, or at least has a general idea about how this is going to work. Also, this tells me that the key to stopping Thanos and reversing what he just did is the Time Stone. Because in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book, at one point, Thanos is able to use all the power of all the stones to pretty much become a being of pure consciousness. And while he's doing that, and when he ascends to this new form, Nebula is able to get the gauntlet from his body and use its power to reverse all the things Thanos did within the last 24 hours. And there's only 2 Guardians that survived Thanos' snap, they were Nebula and Rocket. This naturally sets up a similar plot device to what we saw in the comic, where Nebula might get the gauntlet, or maybe just the Time Stone, and reverse it by 24 hours in order to bring everyone back. Another theory that I've heard from people online is that apparently some fans believe that everyone that died because of Thanos' actions are trapped in the Soul Stone, and that the Soul Stone could be a way to bring back all the heroes that we lost, so that then everyone can team up, take out Thanos together, and then reverse everything that he did. I think this is kind of convenient, but sort of a convenient way to bring the heroes back for Avengers 4, but I don't think that's going to happen, because I feel like, the only person that I think has been confirmed to be in the Soul Stone is most likely Gamora, and I think that's something that we're probably going to have to deal with in Guardians Volume 3. I think that's going to be the plot. The plot of Guardians Volume 3 will be finding Gamora, or at least finding the soul, or at least I think once they separate the stones from the gauntlet, they're going to send them off to different directions of the universe, and I think Star-Lord's going to lead the Guardians in order to find the Soul Stone so he can bring Gamora back. And of course, let's talk about the mid-credits scene with Nick Fury and Agent Maria Hill. Now, I thought the mid-credits scene was really great, because it pretty much took a more, instead of showing us from the Avengers point of view, we kind of get to see it from like the civilians' point of view, where Fury and Hill are driving through the city, and suddenly people start disappearing. So Fury realizes, oh shit, this is big, and he sends out a distress signal on a pager, well, a high-tech more like a customized high-tech pager. And right after he vanishes, we see the pager screen flash the Captain Marvel logo, which pretty much means Captain Marvel's come to Earth. Now, I thought the pager thing was now the pager is most likely a reference to how Captain Marvel's movie is going to be set in the 90s. It's pretty much how how Star-Lord still has a Walkman, well, had a Walkman, because he was a child that grew up in the 80s before he was abducted by the Ravengers. Since Fury is able to send off the signal, and since we got the flashing logo, it's most likely that Captain Marvel did survive the attack, did survive Thanos' snap. And of course, you know, she's half Kree, so it's probably her DNA is the reason why she hasn't aged in over 20 years. Also, this does kind of pose an idea about what Thanos did. Thanos was really trying to use the gauntlet to reduce every single planet's population by half. So I think since Carol was both sort of a human Kree hybrid, she's pretty much the only being like that in existence, so naturally she'd be immune to Thanos' death snap. Okay, the last thing I want to bring up is how Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to fit into all of this. Ant-Man did not make an appearance in this film. We do get kind of a blurb where Black Widow mentions that Clint and Scott took a deal in order to avoid prison. So I think we might find out more about this in Ant-Man Wasp. In fact, some of the trailers have shown Scott Lang wearing pretty much a house arrest bracelet. Okay, but anyways, I think the mid or post-credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to tie into this. And I think what's going to happen is after the movie ends, we're going to have like some reunion, some big family moment, and it's most likely that the victims of Thanos' purge for Ant-Man and the Wasp will be Hank Pym and Cassie Lang. And I think seeing their loved ones fade into ash is going to be the thing that gets Scott and Hope involved with the Avengers for the next movie. Okay, so overall, Avengers Infinity War, it's an awesome movie. I loved it a lot. This was definitely worth 10 years in the making. It's pretty much my favorite Marvel film now. So that kind of so if you want to go check out my top 10 Marvel films, just move everything down by 1 and that'll give you an idea about the rest. Alright, well, thank you again for watching. What did you guys think of Infinity War? Comment below. Also remember to stay subscribed and notified. You can also follow me on Twitter because I always post new video links on my Twitter feed. Thanks again for watching. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying see you later.